And hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge, back once again with another installment of my ongoing weekly series, Valiant Till the Last, in which I familiarise myself with the entire Valiant universe for the first time by reading through my deluxe edition hardcover, which I have never read through before, and I'm reading through my entire collection and all the other issues as well that aren't collected in order to get a good grasp of the Valiant universe. And in today's video, we unfortunately aren't going to be diving into a deluxe edition. What we're going to be doing is, as promised last week, is we are going to finish the series Unity. So in last week's video, we looked at the deluxe edition for Unity, which is labeled Deluxe Edition Volume 1. Unfortunately, no Deluxe Edition Volume 2 has ever been solicited, and by now it looks very much like it never will be solicited. And what that means is I had the choice to decide whether or not I was going to carry on reading the Unity single issues or carry on with Exo Manowar deluxe editions as I had been. And I thought for this week I would just finish Unity. So what I have read today is Unity issues 14 to 25. All right, well, what did I think of this? Well, the top line summary is I thought this was great. This was really enjoyable. This was a very worthy continuation of the Unity Deluxe Edition. And frankly, it's another one of those cases where I really wish it had been collected in a Deluxe Edition. And I will probably get this custom bound myself because I think it's great and I want it in my collection with one caveat, which we'll talk through in just a second. So what issues are there? Well, the first arc, and keep in mind this hypothetical deluxe edition I'm going to make is split into three arcs. The first arc is called Homefront and is issues 15 to 18. Issue 15 is a Ninjak focused issue. Issue 16 is a Gilad or Eternal Warrior focused issue. And issue 17 is a Livewire focused issue. Now, that means issues 15, 16, 17 are each focusing on separate characters, and there's mainly three characters in Unity. Exo Manowar is kind of in Unity, but in a way he can be viewed as kind of like a reserve member. Anyway, so we've got 15, 16, 17, that's Ninjak, Gilad, and Livewire. And what I'll say is all three of these issues happen simultaneously. All three of them explore each of these heroes in their own individual circumstances, in their own lives, outside the Unity supergroup. And they all refer or are set to a particular event which isn't really explicated in detail, and just the kind of the reverberations and just the recovery they have from that event for a couple of days afterwards. Now, when I started reading this, because it's been a week since I read the last deluxe hardcover, I kind of wasn't sure what event they were referring to. To start with, I was like, oh, they're referring to the Armor Hunters event, and this is the fallout or aftermath of that. And then I was like, well, actually, no, I don't think it is, because there was another event that occurred within the Unity hardcover we looked at last week, which was when they fought a group called the United. And I was like, oh, this is just the fallout from the United. But that didn't quite fit right anyway in terms of what I was reading. So I figured I must have just forgotten something. But then I got to issue 18. Now, issue 18 is actually, whilst you would read it after reading issues 15, 16, and 17, it's actually set before then. And issue 18 describes the events and sort of the event and the ordeal that has led to all three characters from Unity, Ninja, Gillard, and Livewire, just taking a couple of days off and just recovering and just chilling. And as such, don't be worried when you're reading the first few issues if you're like, hang on, what is this set after? Because issue 18 will explain that. But at the same time, reading it in this non-chronological order is the order in which it's intended to be read, and is something that I would highly recommend sticking to it like this. And if you do that, it's available in a trade paperback called Homefront. Next up, we have another four-issue arc, which is issues 19 to 22, and this trade paperback is called Warmonger. Um, right, it's basically introducing a new villain called Warmonger, and it introduces the villain, has the villain do stuff, and then it kind of brings that story to a close. It was decent. I enjoyed it, but I did have to ask, like, who the hell is Warmonger? Where did this person come from? Am I supposed to already know who they are? I suspect not. They feel like kind of a monster of a week kind of villain. In this case, a monster of four issues. So a villain specifically for one story arc. But that said, like the nature of this particular villain, and you'll see what I mean when you read it, made me think that maybe this has come up before in some Eternal Warrior story or something else that I haven't as yet read. Maybe in something to do with Shadow Man. I don't know. I'm keeping an eye on it. But without knowing anything else about this villain, assuming that this villain is just introduced for this arc and that's the end of it, still made sense. It was just kind of like, oh, should I know more? I guess not, but it's fine as it is. So that's Warmonger. the second arc in this collection, which is issues 19, 20, 21, 22. That takes it to the last trade paperback, or the last arc of the remaining Unity issues, which is called Revenge of the Armor Hunters. Now, this contains basically issues 23 and 24, and it's a good story, and all it basically does is tie up a lot of loose ends from the Armor Hunters mega event, the deluxe edition that we read a few weeks ago. So, in terms of that, it's really cool. It's really good. It's really enjoyable. It's not essential reading. If you read Armor Hunters, you definitely do not have to read this, because this is very much an epilogue based on and spinning out of Armor Hunters. However, if you're going to read this, you absolutely have to read Armor Hunters first, which you definitely should have done by this point if you're kind of following along with me. So that's issue 23 and 24. So overall, issues 15 to 24 are great. The three specific arcs: Homefront, Warmonger, and Revenge of the Armor Hunters. And I plan on custom binding all of them because I think they're great and I want them in my deluxe hardcover Valiant collection. For the eagle-eyed amongst you, you will realize that there's one issue I haven't talked about, which is Unity issue 25, which is this issue here. I read this. I don't know if this is collected in the trade paperback for Revenge of the Armor Hunters or not. I just read it as a single issue. What I will say is this. This is something you can completely ignore. It's not really, whilst it's a Unity issue, what this is about 8 or 9 little short vignette stories by different artists and different writers, and all of them are tongue-in-cheek lampooning and spoofing of the Unity and in fact the broader Valiant universe. So Quantum and Woody are in here, and there's just like the stupid things going on, and it's all just kind of jokes. The final very short story, which is 4 or 5 pages long, is a really cool one written by Matt Kint, which has got a very nice tone and sense of pathos. But it's not enough for me to think that I'd actually bother getting this custom bound. And getting custom binds is always like a major hassle. So I just trim off all the fat, and I don't really want to bother with this one. That said, it's well worth reading if you're into Valiant, but I would just say it's nothing like the rest. It's completely out of continuity. It's like comedy sound bites and out of canon, and it's just worth reading if you're a completionist. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's also just not really part of the broader thing. That's issue 25. Right, so there we are. That's Unity, the Hypothetical Deluxe Edition Volume 2. Those are the issues that are in it. That's what I thought. I did enjoy it very much, and I am keen to get this custom bound. This was a great little side story. Overall, this fits in completely fine at this part of my reading order. I don't feel as if anything has happened in Exo Manowar that would make this confusing or impossible for me to follow. So I think reading Unity here kind of makes sense. That said, for next week's video, we are going to dive back into Exo Manowar Deluxe Editions, and the next Deluxe Edition I'm going to read is Exo Manowar Volume 4. So if you're reading along, please read that. Let me know what you think. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. As always, please like, comment, subscribe. As always, please follow me on Twitter at I am Thomas Judge, where I will post a daily review of whatever comics I've been reading. You can get an idea of what I'm up to on the channel. And as always, please support the channel by heading over to Amazon.com and checking out my prose novel about superheroes. It's a completely original piece of work. The first episode in it is called Arrivals, and the series as a whole is called No Gods or Kings. You can find an excerpt of that on my website, nogodsorkings.com. Until next time, everybody, stay classy.